Be me. Senshi, feminist relationship coach and sexuality educator, specialized in content about power dynamics in relationships. Wrote extensively about masculine and feminine energy, believed women deserved alpha males in the streets. But those same men should be submissive in the bedroom. Women should have power in all contexts. Men who won't submit intimately are insecure. Real alpha males are comfortable being led. Had whole framework about this. Made content about ideal relationship dynamics. Successful dominant man in public defers to a woman's desires in private. This evolved into masculinity, according to my theory, dated casually for years. Looking for men who fit this profile, successful, confident, ambitious, but willing to relinquish control intimately. Most men didn't fit, either dominant in both contexts or not dominant enough in either. Met him at a conference where I was speaking. He was 35, CEO of a tech startup, recently valued at $50 million, well-dressed, commanding presence. Watch my talk from the back of the room. Came up after to introduce himself. Interesting perspective on power dynamics, though I'm not sure I agree with all of it. Intrigued by his confidence to disagree. What do you disagree with? He smiled. The idea that dominance is contextual. In my experience, it's pretty consistent. People are who they are. Argued my position about compartmentalization, about evolved masculinity. He listened politely, then asked me to dinner to continue the discussion. Agreed. He was interesting and exactly the type I was looking for. Successful, confident CEO who I could teach to submit. First dinner was at an upscale restaurant. He'd made a reservation at the best table, ordered wine without asking my preference, decided what appetizers to share, took complete control of the evening. Red flag in my framework? But I was attracted to his confidence and success, figured I could adjust the dynamic once we were intimate. Second date? Similar pattern. He planned everything, made all decisions, led completely, was charming and attentive, but clearly used to being in charge. Asked him about this. You're very decisive. He laughed. I run a company. Making decisions is what I do. Does it bother you? Admitted it was an adjustment. Explained my theory about power sharing. He listened with amusement. So, you want me to be CEO everywhere except the bedroom? Exactly. That's where I should take direction from you. Put that way, sounded silly. But yes, that was the idea. He didn't argue, just said something interesting, and changed the subject. Third date, he invited me to his place, penthouse apartment, incredible view, expensive furniture, art collection. Everything showed wealth and taste. We had wine, talked for hours. Then he kissed me. It was a dominant kiss, controlling, intense. Everything in it said he was in charge. Pulled back. Maybe we should talk about expectations. He raised an eyebrow. What expectations? Explain my framework about wanting him to be receptive, to follow my lead intimately, to let me control the dynamic. He studied me carefully. That's not who I am in any context. Tried to convince him, you don't have to be dominant everywhere. It's okay to surrender control sometimes. It's actually healthy. He shook his head. I don't think you understand. This isn't about being healthy or not. It's about being authentic. I'm a leader. Always have been. That doesn't change behind closed doors. Felt frustrated, so you can't adapt at all. Can't meet me halfway. He considered this. I can be attentive to your needs, can be generous and focused on your pleasure, but I won't pretend to be submissive. That's not in my nature. This was exactly the problem I wrote about in my content. Men who couldn't relinquish control decided to try anyway. Maybe I could change his mind. When we were intimate, he was completely dominant. Every move, every touch, all on his terms. He was attentive, skilled, clearly experienced and confident, but absolutely in control, zero submission. Afterward, lying there, brought it up. That was all very dominant. He smiled. I know. Tried to explain what I wanted. I need more balance. I need to feel in control sometimes. He turned to face me. Then you're with the wrong person. This is who I am. If that doesn't work for you, we should end this now. His directness was startling. Most men would have tried to accommodate, promised to change. He was just honest about his limits. Tried to argue, you can't just be unwilling to compromise. He sat up, I'm not compromising my core nature. I know who I am. I know what I want. You should. 2. Left that night feeling frustrated. He was perfect on paper, successful, intelligent, attractive, but wouldn't submit. Posted about the experience without naming him, dating alpha male who refuses to relinquish control. Exactly the problem I write about. Men who can't be vulnerable. Got supportive comments. He's insecure in his masculinity. Real confidence means flexibility. He needs to work on himself. These validated my frustration, but something nagged at me. He didn't seem insecure. He seemed very sure of himself, maybe too sure. Continued seeing him, tried different approaches, suggested we take turns leading. He politely declined, asked him to let me be in charge. He refused, not meanly, just firmly, attempted to initiate differently. He'd redirect to his preference every single time. It was infuriating, but also confusing because he was attentive, focused on my pleasure. Made sure I was satisfied, just completely on his terms. Brought this to therapy. Explain the situation. Therapist asked good questions. What bothers you more, that he won't submit or that you can't control him? Insisted it was first. She looked skeptical. Are you sure? Because it sounds like you want to be in charge and he won't let you. That's different from him being submissive. Felt defensive. I just want equality. She pressed. Is what you're describing equality, or is it a reversed hierarchy, you on top instead of him? Uncomfortable question. Admitted maybe it was, but men have had power forever. Why can't we have it now? She leaned back, because 2 wrongs don't make right. And because you can't force someone to be something they're not, he's telling you who he is. You're not listening. Left session annoyed. She didn't understand. This was about evolution, about men learning to be different. Continued relationship. Couple months in, we were serious. Meeting each other's friends, talking about the future, but the bedroom dynamic is unchanged. He remained completely dominant. I remained frustrated, started making demands. I need you to let me lead tonight. He refused calmly. That's not happening. Got angry. Why are you so rigid? Why can't you just try? He took my hand because I'd be performing, pretending to be something I'm not. That's not authentic. Not fair to either of us. Tried emotional manipulation. If you love me, you try. His expression hardened. Don't do that. Don't make this about love. I show love in many ways, but I won't fake submission. That's not love. That's lying. Realized he had boundaries. Firm. Non-negotiable boundary that I kept trying to cross Made a post about this. Partner refuses to compromise on intimacy dynamics. Won't even try to let me lead. Is this relationship salvageable? Comments were divided. Some supported me. He's not respecting your needs. You deserve equal power. He needs to compromise. Others were critical. You're trying to change him. He's been clear about who he is. Either accept it or leave. Second group made uncomfortable points. Was I trying to change him into something he wasn't while claiming to accept him? Had dinner with his friends, successful people, CEOs, founders, and watched him in that context. He was completely in his element, leading conversations, making decisions, taking charge naturally. Everyone deferred to him, not because they had to, but because he had gravity. People naturally followed, realized this was who he was in every context, not performance. Just his nature. Trying to suppress that even in one area would be like asking him to be a different person. Friend of his pulled me aside. He seems really into you, more serious than I've seen him. Asked what she meant. He's usually very guarded. Doesn't introduce women to us. You're first in years. This was meaningful. He was serious about relationship, just not willing to change fundamental aspect of himself. Even for me, 3 months in, had serious conversation about our future. I love you. He said, but I need you to accept me as I am, not as who you want me to be. Tried to argue, I accept you. I just want some balance. He shook head. You want me to be different in a fundamental way? That's not acceptable. Asked if he couldn't change at all. I've changed in many ways. I'm more communicative because of you, more aware of your needs, more attentive emotionally, but I won't change my core nature. I won't submit to anyone, not in business, not in life, not in the bedroom. His clarity was absolute, no room for negotiation, had to decide, accept him as is or end relationship, chose to stay. But with resentment, made content about it, staying with a dominant partner while maintaining your own needs. Compromise isn't surrender, but honestly felt like surrender. Like I'd given up on my vision of an evolved masculine man. Resentment grew over time. I'd make comments, must be nice to always get your way. He'd respond calmly, you always have a choice to leave. Would try to prove points, be distant or cold. He'd notice, but not bend. I'm not going to chase or change who I am to make you less angry. His consistency was maddening. Nothing worked to shift the dynamic. 4 months in, had an explosive fight about something small, but really about everything. Yelled at him. You're exactly the problem I write about. Men who won't evolve, who cling to dominance, too insecure to be vulnerable. He let me finish, then spoke quietly. I'm not insecure. I know exactly who I am. You're the one who seems insecure, needing to control everything. Even people who won't be controlled. That stung. I don't need to control everything. He raised eyebrow. Don't you make content about it? You demand it in relationships? You can't accept me as I am because you need me to submit to prove something to yourself. Felt exposed. Like he saw something I didn't. That's not true. He saw who. I think it is. And I think we're done here. Wait. What? You're breaking up with me. Over one fight. He shook head. Not over one fight. Over fundamental incompatibility. You need something I won't give. I won't change my nature. So we're at impasse. Tried to backtrack. I can accept you. I have accepted you. He looked sad. No. You've tolerated me while trying to change me. That's not sustainable for either of us. Begged him to reconsider. We can work on this. He was firm. There's nothing to work on. I am who I am. You want someone different. You should find them. He walked the door, turned back. For what it's worth. I did love you, but I love myself more than to pretend to be different. Then he left, just like that. 4 months done, sat there in shock. He'd actually ended it over my need for him to change. Posted about breakup, CEO boyfriend ended relationship because I wanted equality in bedroom. Proof that dominant men are fragile. Got expected support, he's lost. You deserve better. He showed his true colors, but also got critical comments. You tried to change him. He set boundary. You couldn't accept it. This is on you. Dismissed these initially, but they nagged at me, went to therapy, processed breakup. Therapist asked hard questions. What did you love about him? Listed his qualities. Successful, intelligent, confident, strong, decisive, capable, al dominante. She noted, realized she was right. I was attracted to his dominance in every context except wanting to control it in one context. So, you loved who he was, but wanted him different. Put that way sounded contradictory. She continued, you can't have it both ways. Can't want a CEO who leads but also submits. That's not who CEOs are. Asked why not? Because leadership is consistent. People don't turn it on and off. Its core personality trait. You wanted a man who leads, then demands. He follow. That's fundamentally contradictory. This challenged my entire framework, my content, my beliefs about compartmentalized dominance, about men who could switch. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe people were consistent. Started researching this psychology of dominance and submission, personality consistency across contexts, found studies showing leadership traits are stable, dominant people remain dominant. Submissive people remain submissive. Context matters some, but core nature is consistent. Found relationship research. Successful couples often match on dominance. Submission, both dominant equals conflict, both submissive equals stagnation, one of each equals balance. But you can't force someone to be what they're not. That creates resentment and failure. Realized my framework was flawed. I wanted contradictory things. Dominant man who wasn't the leader. Who followed? Alpha who submitted. That person didn't exist or was rare enough to be essentially fictional. Made a post about this research, rethinking my views on power dynamics. Maybe people are consistent. Maybe wanting a CEO who submits is an unrealistic expectation. Response was harsh. You're giving up on evolution. Men can learn to be different. This is defeatist. Fellow feminist coaches attacked. She's been brainwashed by one man. This undermines our work. Women deserve everything. Lost followers, but felt more honest than I had in years. Months after the breakup, saw he was dating someone. She was beautiful, also successful, and ran her own company. They looked happy together. She seemed comfortable with his dominant presence. Even seemed to enjoy it. Made me wonder if I'd been fighting against what I actually wanted. If my ideology had prevented me from accepting what attracted me, started examining my content, years of posts about men needing to submit, about evolved masculinity, about power sharing, was it helping anyone or creating impossible expectations? Got a message from a follower. I've been following your advice, demanding my boyfriend submit. He's getting frustrated. Relationships are struggling. What should I do? Realized my content was causing problems in real relationships. Creating conflict where none needed to exist. Responded honestly. Consider whether you're demanding something incompatible with who he is. Maybe accept his nature instead of trying to change it. She was confused, but you always said men should submit. Admitted I was wrong. I created a framework that doesn't work. People are who they are. Trying to force change creates problems. She thanked me, but said she'd been following me for years. Your content shaped my whole approach. Now you're saying it's wrong. Felt terrible responsibility. How many relationships had I damaged with my unrealistic expectations? Made a comprehensive post. I was wrong about power dynamics. Detailed everything. My relationship with the CEO, how I tried to change him, how he refused and left. The research I'd done about personality consistency, why my framework was flawed, how I'd hurt people by promoting impossible standards. Post went viral. Mostly negative responses. She's betraying feminist principles. One man broke her. This is harmful to women. Fellow coaches condemned me. She's undoing years of progress. Teaching women to accept dominance. This is patriarchal. But got messages from women. Thank you for honesty. I've been fighting with my partner over these exact issues, realizing I need to accept him from men. My girlfriend follows you. She's been trying to change me. I'm about to leave. Your new post might save us. These messages mattered more than viral backlash. If I could prevent breakups like mine, that was worth criticism. Ran into him 6 months later at an industry event. He was there with a new girlfriend. She was confident, poised, clearly comfortable with him. He saw me, came over, was polite, kind to even. How have you been? Admitted I'd been thinking about our relationship. I understand better now. Why couldn't you change? He nodded. I'm glad you learned, even if it was hard. Asked if he was happy. Very. He said simply, she accepts me as I am. Don't try to change me. It's easy with her. That stung. Our relationship had been hard because I made it hard trying to change him. His girlfriend joined us, was warm, friendly, confident in herself and in him, watched them together. The dynamic was clear. He led. She followed, not because she was weak, but because she chose to. She seemed happy with it, even empowered by it, realized I'd been wrong about what female power looked like, thought it meant controlling him. But maybe it meant choosing the man you want, accepting who he is, being secure in yourself, not needing to change him, made peace with breakup. He was right to leave. I was trying to fundamentally change him while claiming to love him. That wasn't fair. Current dating is different. Don't pursue CEOs anymore, or ultra-dominant men, unless I can accept they'll be that way everywhere, including bedroom. Looking for different balance, someone naturally more flexible, not someone I have to change. Met guy recently, he's not CEO, not ultra-successful alpha, but he's balanced. Sometimes leads, sometimes follows. It's natural for him, not performance. Not forced, just who he is. Relationship is easy. No fighting about dynamic. No trying to change each other. Just accepting and enjoying what we each bring. Made final post about my journey. What I learned from wanting a CEO who submits. Detailed whole experience. Meeting him. Being attracted to dominance. Trying to change him. Him refusing. Leaving when I couldn't accept. My research and growth. Understanding personality consistency. Finding a better match. Post got a good response from people who related. I was doing same thing trying to change my partner. Reading this helped me accept him. From men who felt seen, thank you for understanding. Not all of us can submit. Doesn't make us insecure. Just makes us who we are. lost most of feminist following, but gained honest audience, people interested in reality, not ideology. Better smaller group than large group built on false premises. Therapist said something profound about my journey. You were attracted to his power but wanted to take it away. That's not love. That's conquest. She was right. I wanted to prove I could control a dominant man. That wasn't about him or even about equality. It was about my need to be in control. He saw that and refused. Protecting himself and his nature, that was healthy. Not fragile. Current relationship works because we match, both somewhat flexible, both somewhat fixed. Compatible in our nature, not trying to change each other. Former CEO is engaged now. Saw announcement. His girlfriend's now fiancé looks happy. So does he. Felt genuine happiness. No jealousy. Just glad he found a match who accepted him. Unlike me, that's what he deserved. What everyone deserves. To be accepted as they are, not molded into something else. Even with good intentions. That's real love. Not what I offered, which was conditional on him becoming different. That's the lesson from wanting CEO husband to obey in bedroom. CEO fired me from his life. And he was right too, because I didn't love him. I loved idea of him. Submissive version that never existed and never would. He knew that I didn't until too late, but learned eventually that people are who they are consistently across contexts. Can't compartmentalize nature. Can't be CEO everywhere, except where you want them. Doxel doesn't work that way. Never will. Better to find compatible matches than try to change the incompatible one. That's what I know now. What I wish I'd known then would have saved heartbreak, his and mine, but some lessons only come through experience of being wrong and losing what you want because you wouldn't accept what it actually was. That's my story of wanting impossible things. Getting real thing, rejecting it, and watching it walk away to find someone who could appreciate it as it was, not as I wished it would be. That's growth. Painful, but necessary. From fantasy to reality, from control to acceptance, from losing CEO to finding myself. Months later, I got invited to speak on a podcast about relationships and gender dynamics. Host introduced me as former feminist coach turned realist. Cringed a little at that label, but maybe it was true. They asked, "So, what do you believe now?" Paused for a moment because, for once, I didn't have a rehearsed answer, just said, "I believe in compatibility, not in control." Not in theory, just in two people fitting where it feels natural. The host nodded slowly. "So, you don't believe in power balance anymore?" Smiled. "Balance, yes. Battle, no. When both people are trying to win, nobody's loving." The episode went viral in an unexpected way. Not outrage this time. Resonance. Thousands of comments like, "Finally someone said it. This is what healing feminism sounds like. Not against men. Not for men. Just for truth." It felt strange being praised for saying something so simple, but maybe simple was the revolution all along. After years of fighting, I realize most people don't want to dominate or submit. They just want peace. They want to be seen. They want to stop arguing about who leads and just walk side by side. And maybe that's the future. Less hierarchy. More harmony. No one on top. No one beneath. Just two humans figuring it out together. That's the kind of feminism I believe in now. Not the kind that needs to win, but the kind that lets everyone rest because we've all been fighting long enough. Sometimes I imagine an alternate version of myself, the one who never met the CEO, the one still making videos about evolved masculinity. She's probably still online somewhere, arguing with strangers, still certain, still loud, still wrong. I don't hate her. She was doing her best with what she knew, but I'm glad I'm not her anymore, because certainty is easy when you've never had to test it against reality. Love tested mine, and it broke, but in the break, I found something more honest, not a theory, not a brand, not a cause, just humanity. Messy, complicated, imperfect humanity, the kind that doesn't need to win every argument, the kind that just wants to be kind. Maybe that's how healing starts. Not by rewriting others, but by rewriting yourself. And maybe that's what the CEO was trying to show me all along, that the real evolution wasn't his, it was mine. Weeks after that post went viral, I started getting invitations again, podcasts, panels, women's groups wanting me to speak about my journey. They called it redemption. I called it reckoning because standing on those stages again didn't feel triumphant. It felt fragile. Every time I opened my mouth, I could hear echoes of the person I used to be. The one who believed power meant control. That love meant conversion, and yet there I was, telling a room full of women that peace felt better than victory. Some clapped, some frowned. A few whispered that I'd sold out, but I didn't flinch anymore because I finally understood something simple. You can't empower people by teaching them to distrust what they're drawn to. Attraction isn't ideology, it's instinct, and instincts don't vanish just because a movement says they should. I used to think equality meant sameness. Now I think it means respect for difference, because when we blur polarity, we also blur passion. When we shame desire, we sterilize connection. And when we demand submission from strength, we weaken both. I told the audience about him as the CEO, not as villain, but as catalyst, the man who forced me to confront myself by refusing to change. And as I spoke, I realized I wasn't angry anymore, just grateful. Grateful that he walked away instead of bending, because if he had stayed, I never would have broken the illusion, never would have learned that liberation without self-awareness is just rebellion with better branding. After the talk, a woman my age came up to me, eyes wet. She said she'd ruined her marriage trying to prove she didn't need him. Now she was alone, independent, and miserable. I thought freedom meant doing it all myself. She said, but maybe it just means choosing without guilt. I nodded because that was the lesson I'd spent years buying with heartbreak. Freedom isn't about dominance, it's about choice. And love isn't the opposite of power. It's what happens when power relaxes its grip. I don't post as often anymore. When I do, it's quieter. Less preaching, more wandering. Sometimes I share something simple. A quote about patience or a photo of coffee with someone who listens instead of debates. Those posts barely go viral. And that's fine because peace doesn't trend, but it lasts. And I'm finally okay living a story that doesn't need to go viral to be real. Maybe that's what maturity is. When you stop performing your values and start living them, even if it's not loud enough for the algorithm to hear, months turn into a year. I moved to cities, a smaller apartment, and a slower life. Stop chasing spotlights and start collecting silence. It's strange how quiet feels like emptiness at first until you realize it's just space. Space for growth, for truth, for something real to bloom. Ran into an old follower at a cafe once. She asked if I ever regretted changing my message. All the backlash, all the lost fame. I smiled. No. I said, because I got my life back. Sometimes I still think about him, the CEO, not as the man I lost, but the mirror I needed. He didn't just fire me from his life. He freed me from a script I didn't know I was trapped in. And now every time I meet someone new, I don't measure them by theory. I measure them by how my nervous system reacts. Calme. not chaos, warmth, not warfare. I used to chase intensity and call it connection. Now I chase peace and call it home. Because love doesn't need an audience. It just needs honesty. And if that means fewer followers, fewer men, fewer certainties, so be it. What I have now is alignment, not power over anyone, but power with myself. And for the first time, I don't need to win an argument to feel whole, because I finally understand equality isn't about swapping roles. It's about seeing clearly, and when you can see clearly, control stops feeling like safety. It just feels small. He taught me that by refusing to kneel, and I thank him for it because, in the end, he didn't just walk away from me. He walked me back to myself. Sometimes I wonder if love was ever meant to be a battlefield at all. Maybe we just made it because we were afraid of surrender, afraid that if we stopped fighting, we'd have nothing left to prove. But peace isn't the absence of passion. It's what remains when the noise dies down. I used to think calm meant boredom. Now I think it means safety, because when someone makes you feel safe, your heart finally has room to open. No script. No power games. No armor. Just two flawed people meeting in the middle. That's what I want now. Not fireworks. Just warmth that stays after the spark fades. Not perfection. Just presence. Because real connection doesn't need constant validation. It just needs consistency. And that's rarer than any kind of passion I used to chase. Some nights, I still scroll through my old clips. The ones filled with anger and theory, I don't delete them anymore. They're a record of someone learning in public, someone trying too hard to sound sure, and maybe that's what all of us are doing, performing certainty while quietly searching for peace. But peace doesn't perform, it just exists quietly, patiently, waiting for us to notice it. And I think that's what I finally found. Not the kind of love that conquers, but the kind that simply stays